Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Sean Holko, alongside my guy, Mr. Kevin Dent. Kaz Johnson of Just Casually shall be joining us soon, as well as the podfather, Mr. Jaevon Toddy, who is on his way. We're back for another episode. Happy Martin Luther King Day for all of you who observe. And we're back for episode number 176. Kevin, we are minutes removed from a thrilling college football national championship, so we're going to get to that first. But before we get there, I want to know, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Shaun and I were talking before the show. I got my chance to go down to Seattle for the first time. I got to party with a lot of Niners, Seahawks fans, get a lot of hate because you guys know me. I wouldn't go into enemy territory without my gear. So a lot of people were mouthing off. So I got to basically say what I do in the group chat every day to live people that don't know anything about me. So that was fun. Got to see one of my good friends, Wesley. He coaches at a Division II school in Washington, so I got to go see them put belt to ass, and it was a good time. Got back this morning, or this evening, I guess. So I'm just still trying to unpack and get ready for the work week. How are you doing, Shaun?
Shout out to Wes. I'm doing well. I appreciate it. Thank you for asking. All things considered, I'm doing pretty well. As we were talking about in our pre-show meeting, I'm doing okay. I'm doing the best that I possibly can after what happened to my San Francisco 49ers on Saturday night. I did not think it could get worse. from that Week 18 game against the Seattle Seahawks, but it certainly was much, much worse. So we're going to get to that in our second segment of today's show. But I wanted to give a shout out to Wes because he is a noted Minnesota fan. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast. He will live or die by the Vikings. And I don't know how I got to know. How did Wes feel seeing what Sam Darnold did with the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday, considering that the Vikings should have never let him walk away?
I asked him that same question. Wes is so far removed from football. We're talking about mock drafts. We're talking about everything. He's like, look, dude, do I wish he'd be in our jersey doing that? Yeah, he said, but I saw him in our jersey and he blew it up. So, 2020 vision, would he prefer having Sam Darnold as the Vikings? Yeah. But then it's like we wasted a first-round pick. So he's like, I'd rather see the young guy, see what we got, so we have a decision on where to go from there versus having him on the bench thinking maybe he's something. And now we all found out that he's nothing. So,
yeah, you and I, as an Ohio State fans, we kind of already knew that the Michigan man was going to end up being a bust. But, small sample size, we'll see what he can do next season. But that's a good point from Wes, is you got to find out at some point. And Sam Darnold, he had to learn his lessons when he was with Minnesota. And so now he is thriving with the Seattle Seahawks, which, as a 49ers fan, hurts my heart, but good for him, I guess. And I'm sure the gripe that Wes has now when it's related to Minnesota sports is the fact that the NBA All-Star starters came out this morning and Stephen Curry made it on the All-Star starters rather than Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards is averaging nearly 30 points with super high percentages on field goal percentage, 3-point, free throws. And so Anthony Edwards seemed like a shoo-in to be an all-star starter, but instead Steph Curry, the vet, got the nod. So I'm sure Wes feels pretty passionately about that. But we'll get to that on another episode regarding the new format of the NBA All-Star Game, how it's going to be USA versus World. There's going to be multiple teams. And so we will get to that on a future episode. But let's get right to it with the meat of it. And not waste any more time, let's get right to the College Football Playoff National Championship that just ended about 20 minutes ago as the Indiana Hoosiers hold on to beat the Miami Hurricanes 27-21 for their first national title in program history. The Hoosiers went from being a basketball school for a century to Kurt Signetti and Fernando Mendoza arrive, and suddenly they are a football school, and they get the job done. Kevin, before I toss it to you, I just want to say I'm so happy that we got ourselves an entertaining game, because I was so worried coming into this game, the way that Indiana had been playing, that they were just going to come in and they were going to beat the brakes off of Miami, just like the Seattle Seahawks did to my 49ers this past weekend. But instead, Indiana, they fought hard, but they weren't able to be that same team that we saw them in their first two college football playoff games this season. Miami, their defensive line, full of first-round picks, came after Mendoza. They bloodied his lip in the first quarter. But after all of that, Indiana wins 27-21. I'm so happy that we got ourselves an entertaining game that came down to the final seconds. What was your reaction to this one?
Like you said, Miami's defensive line. We've seen Indiana basically just boat race everybody they've played. But those two defensive linemen made it hell for Fernando Mendoza. Shaun mentioned on the read option where, he gave the ball up, but they wanted to make their presence felt. And they did just that. His lip was bleeding and maybe his nose maybe. But it was a great game. Indiana, I would feel like Miami it came down to two plays. It comes down to Miami missing that kick and Miami getting their pump blocked. If those two things don't happen, we're looking at a different game. We saw the Miami defense really step up when they needed to, especially on that last drive when we needed to give up 3. If you can't get a first down, it'll win the game, and they stopped them. Yes, I get it that Indiana did jump off sides, but Miami's defense stepped up when they needed to. And to see a guy like Carson Beck go head-to-head with the Heisman winner shows a lot. They both really didn't have electric games that we thought, it could have been a shootout. A lot of people were thinking that Indiana was going to just beat the shit out of them. But as an Ohio State fan, I know, the Big Ten wins another one. Yeah, they both beat us. I'm dying on this hill that I wish Miami would have won. I was rooting for Miami. I wanted Miami to win. I have to when I think of Miami winning national championships, I have to turn on Netflix. You know that I wasn't alive for the Ray Lewis and the Michael Irvins of the world and all the guys that I had during the U. You know, so that's something I really wanted to see come to fruition. It's in their hometown. Like it was nothing like that. But if you were just to not know where they were playing, you saw a lot more red, and they were getting the noise was getting to them. So it was a lot of things that played into it. But Miami had a hell of a season, man. The road that they had to take to get here, they definitely deserved it. You know, beating the reigning champs, you know, beating everybody they beat through. I mean, even having to play Ole Miss. You know, Ole Miss wasn't no joke. I know Lane Kiffin left, but they had a hell of a run to get here. So they deserve to be here more than anyone else on that other side of the bracket. But Indiana, like Shaun said, we're happy that we got a good game because when it went from Alabama to Oregon and them just beating everybody and putting up 40 points. So it was nice to see that they got a game.
Yeah, the only player that really had numbers that stood out a little bit was Mark Fletcher Jr., the running back from Miami. And most of his yards came on one run as he broke away for a 57-yard touchdown, which really made this a game. Mark Fletcher finishes with 17 carries for 112 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. But you look at the quarterbacks, as you mentioned, Carson Beck goes 19 of 32 for 232 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. That interception came on the last drive of the game as he was taking a shot deep, trying to get Miami into the red zone, and it didn't work out. You have number 22 from Indiana, Jamari Sharp, who is from Miami, so kind of a storybook ending for him and Fernando Mendoza, as Mendoza was from Miami. Both of his parents went to Miami. Fernando Mendoza Sr. was a teammate in high school with Mario Cristobal, Miami's head coach. And so many storylines coming into this game. But Jamari Sharp, he ends up finishing this game with the game-sealing interception. The first and only turnover of this game ends up ending it. And yeah, like I said, I was just so glad that we got ourselves a game. And you look at the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza, he goes 16 of 27 for 186 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But he had a couple of very, very key 3rd down and 4th down conversions to Charlie Becker. And they highlighted during the game, Charlie Becker is the only wide receiver who was at Indiana before Curt Cignetti got there. And Curt Cignetti basically said, I want winners. I want all my guys from JMU and other transfers that I'm going to bring in. We're starting new. Everyone else, hit the portal. Get out of here. We don't want you. Charlie Becker was the one guy who stuck around, and he ends up having 2 key catches in this game, including on that 4th down. I believe it was earlier in the 4th quarter when he basically catches him behind him. Yeah, and he barely holds on. And that play was the difference in this game. And also, shout out to Curt Cignetti for the cojones that it took to go for it when Indiana could have gone up by 6 points. Then they end up going for the touchdown. Fernando Mendoza rumbles his way 12 yards for the touchdown. He takes shot after shot. He's saying after the game, I will die for my teammates. Holly Rowe of ESPN is having him show his elbow and his forearm on camera because it's all bruised and bloodied. We talked about his lip being bloodied. And so Fernando Mendoza, he had the whole Raiders congregation there with Mark Davis, Tom Brady, John Spytek, the GM, and another minority owner there. And they all wanted to see it with their own eyes. Is this guy the real deal? And Fernando Mendoza showed in this game that he's the real deal. Just like he showed throughout the season. They showed during the game the hit that Fernando Mendoza took in the Big Ten Championship against the Ohio State Buckeyes and how he got absolutely leveled on the first play of the game. He had to walk off the field. He ends up coming in like 2-3 plays after that. And then they go on to beat Ohio State 13-10 for the Big Ten Championship. And when Indiana beat Ohio State, our Buckeyes, for the Big Ten Championship, I just thought, good for them. They got their first conference championship. Good job, guys. I'm happy for you. The Buckeyes are going to go and repeat. And then the Buckeyes couldn't get past Miami, who Indiana just did. So kudos all around to the Hoosiers. I'm happy for them. I know you were rooting for Miami. I saw they had Cam Patterson, who's one of my favorite comedians. He imitated Michael Irvin on Saturday Night Live this past week. I don't know if you saw it. If you haven't, you need to check it out because it is so spot on and so funny. But so many great storylines when it comes to Miami. But I'm happy for the Hoosiers. They have never been a football school, and for them to do this, I'm really happy for them. And so congrats to the Indiana Hoosiers for winning the national championship. Fernando Mendoza is going to go on to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft, and there's going to probably end up being a couple of Miami defensive linemen who go in that top 10 right after him. And so kudos all around to Indiana for winning the national championship. As you highlighted, Kevin, the Big Ten Conference wins its third consecutive national championship. So SEC, where you at? I guess we got the new dominant conference in college football, and it's where the Ohio State Buckeyes play. But congrats to Indiana. I'm interested. And one other thing I'll add. We talk about Fernando Mendoza going to the NFL, and everyone's like, okay, Indiana had its run. It's time for them to take a step back. Unless Kurt Cignetti gets hired by the Raiders or another NFL team, they're just going to rebuild and reload, because we already saw when the transfer portal opened that all of these extremely talented players all wanted to go to Indiana now, which is a statement that no one has ever said before in college football history, that all these blue chip 5-star, 4-star prospects who went elsewhere out of high school are now transferring to Indiana. And so as long as Cignetti's there, they are going to be perennial contenders. And this could just be the beginning of a long run for the Indiana Hoosiers. Do you have anything else you want to add, Kevin, before we get to some professional football?
No, sir. Let's get this going.
All right, let's dive right into it, because it was a painful weekend for your boy, also for Mr. Jaevon Toddy, who hopefully should be joining us soon. But now joining us is none other than our recurring guest, Kaz Johnson of Just Casually, joining us as he still has that Jalen Hurts Super Bowl championship as his background. Welcome back to the show, Kaz. We appreciate you joining us.
I mean, as for right now, we are still the defending champs. So
yes,
we're gonna rock with it till we can't rock with it no more, man. But yeah, man, everything's good though. Weird, but good week of some football. So
yeah, so let's get right to it. We appreciate you joining us as always. Let's just go in consecutive, or I don't know if consecutive is the right word. Let's just go in order in which the games took place this past weekend. So we're going to start things off with Saturday afternoon on the AFC side of the bracket, as the number 1 seed, Denver Broncos. Shout out to Grey Wolf. We haven't seen him in the comments yet. We hope he's doing good. But Grey Wolf's team, the Denver Broncos, ended up beating the Buffalo Bills 33-30 in overtime. Josh Allen goes to 0-7 in his career when it comes to overtime games. Josh Allen loses again in the playoffs in overtime. And as you might have seen from ESPN, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, they both had funny reports when it comes to the news of what happened with the Buffalo Bills after that game. And that is that their head coach, Sean McDermott, has been fired, as you might have also seen in today's episode title. So Buffalo loses to the Broncos 33-30. They fire Sean McDermott afterwards, but that's not the only news coming from this game. News came out on Saturday night as the Seahawks were putting belt to ass on the 49ers that Bo Nix, the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, suffered a broken bone in his ankle on the second to last play of overtime, and he is now out for the season. So the Broncos move on. They're playing for an AFC championship, but they're going to be without their starting quarterback, as Jarrett Stidham will now take over to lead the Denver Broncos. So a lot of news there to unpack, Kevin. What was your reaction to the game, but also to McDermott being fired and Bo Nix being out for the year?
From the Bills standpoint, this is yet another coach who has been fired because their MVP quarterback doesn't play MVP football in the postseason. We had rules changed for him. This is the 7th postseason in Josh Allen's career, has yet to reach a Super Bowl. 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and yet the coach is the one that gets the blame. There's a lot of things that you can point to in this game, but Josh Allen, point frankly, he overthrew the game-winning touchdown. There's a lot of things that went wrong when the defense was able to have his back and forth, a turnover, get an interception, the defensive line, he turns it right back over. So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of people to point at. I don't know if Bill McDermott or Sean McDermott was the correct guy to kind of get the blame. But unfortunately, in the business that we cover, basketball, football, the head coach, the head of the snake, always takes the blame. When they win, it's the players doing, and when they lose, it's the coach's fault. But we've seen this movie 7 times, and every single time it ends up changing it around. They make OC changes, they make DC changes, and now they decided to make a head coach change. And the one change that I thought, usually goes with head coaches is GMs. But the GM got an upgrade, a promotion to player operations. And it's weird because this team had a lot of holes. We said coming into this playoffs that it was Josh Allen's best chance, but this is arguably the worst roster he's played with. Keon Coleman had a lot of hype coming into his career, hasn't really fell through. And their best receiver is Khalil Shakir, which no one would have even thought of before this season. Like, every time Josh Allen went to Khalil Shakir over the past 2 games, it's been a catch. The first game was 9 for 9. This game was 7 for 7. So he was that backbone to that offense. When you need something and it's not going to come from Josh Allen or James Cook, it's Khalil Shakir. They have a lot of holes on this defense. They have a lot of holes on this offense. But it's going to be interesting to kind of see where they go from now. And from the Broncos standpoint, Jake Stidham hasn't thrown a pass since 2023. He has started 7 games in his career. He's 0-7. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play. But I'm going to be the one to see here. If you guys are watching on the podcast, the stream, you see an 86 jersey. Nick Foles led us to that Super Bowl. So you guys are NFL players. He can do it. Why not? As long as he can get through this week, he'll then have 2 weeks to prepare for the Super Bowl. So this week is a fast turnaround, yes. But he was one of the guys saying, I believe I'm a starting quarterback in the NFL. All backups say that, of course. But, now that it's his time to shine, he's going to get a chance to do it. Like I said, we've seen it before. So can the Broncos rally around, and can that defense really carry them? It's going to be interesting to see. The Patriots are a hell of a team, and we'll cover that later on here in the episode. But Josh Allen should be getting a lot more blame. I know McDermott is the big headline, but a lot of people need to start looking at Josh Allen differently because we put him in this top tier of quarterbacks. And everything goes his way. They change his rules. No Mahomes, no Pat. The list goes on and on and on. He continuously doesn't get it done.
Something I want to highlight real quickly, we will get to this later in the episode because I don't want to interrupt this block of recapping the NFL Divisional Round. But as Cousin Cordell says in our YouTube comments, Saleh going to the Titans, a.k.a. 49ers defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh is going to become the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans, as Adam Schefter just reported 3 minutes ago. Says ESPN sources, Titans are working to finalize a deal to hire 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their head coach. Saleh spent Monday in Tennessee with the Titans, and the two sides impressed each other enough to move forward together. So we will get to that a little bit later in today's episode, probably after we preview the AFC Championship games. And we got to hear from our guy Toddy, who is yet to arrive. And so hopefully the Podfather is able to join us later to talk about that news. But Kaz, if you could, please give us your reaction to the Broncos beating the Bills 33-30 in overtime, and the fact that Jarrett Stidham is now going to be leading the way for the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean, Bo played like how we all knew Bo could play. Sean Payton being a coach who's been there before. I think I said this last week on the podcast, but if not, I'll say it now. When you've been there and you've done that, you kind of understand the way that the game goes, the flow of the game. You really good head coaches, they call their best games in during the big games, and I felt like Sean Payton did a really good job of keeping his guys very well prepared very poised. The defense played absolutely lights out, but that doesn't say much because even though it's been a few years, people forget Josh Allen. He's known for turnovers, man. The dude he's a pick merchant. He won the MVP last year, which I've said time and time again, very questionable. I think it should have been Lamar, but it's whatever. But not no more than 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, we were talking about Josh Allen being one of the worst quarterbacks when it comes to throwing the football, because he doesn't protect the football. And then the Josh Allen of old, we'll call it, definitely made a comeback on the biggest stage of his career. So I don't think that they were gonna. I did pick them to win, but after seeing the way that he played, I had the Bills going all the way. Now that Philly's not there, I think my original prediction was Philly, Bills in the Super Bowl. But seeing the way that he played against the Broncos, even if they did win, I probably would not have them winning the Super Bowl. I probably wouldn't even have them making the Super Bowl. But you're seeing it all over. You're seeing the headlines, and you're seeing a lot of fans kind of, not even just fans, also people that have a good following, or they work for ESPN, or like Cam Newton on First Take. He was saying it's time to really have that real conversation about Josh Allen. The resume is there, we see it, and we can move the goalpost and blame this, that, and the other. And I'm a Josh Allen guy. I like the guy. I like him as a quarterback. I think he's a fun guy to watch, but nobody is exempt from criticism, especially someone who is an Eagles fan, who our quarterback gets some of the worst criticism. And there's been other quarterbacks like Lamar, and there's other quarterbacks like, like I'll even throw in Dak there for a little bit, like where, they get criticized for these big moments. And some of it's warranted, some of it's not. And I think it's time for us to stop avoiding what reality is, and that is Josh Allen does not play well. There's people out there that's like, there's 11 guys on a football field, the quarterback shouldn't get all the blame. Okay, we can have that argument. There's people who are about X's and O's, or people like myself. I'm a player watcher. I watch what they do and make my assumption and judgment off of that alone. And there's people who just, hey, well, he's the MVP, or hey, his team sucks. We've heard every excuse when it comes to Josh Allen, and one thing that we can't shy away from is very similar to what Dak Prescott does. And it's when they're in the playoffs, what happens to their stats? Why is it that you can put up these tremendous stats in the regular season, but when the playoffs come around, and on top of that, sometimes you're playing some of the same teams that you've already seen in the regular season? Why is it that your stats dwindle? And it's not just, they don't just dwindle, it's significantly worse. At some point, you got to look at it for what it is. It may not be only Josh Allen, but he's definitely not exempt from criticism. It was a hard fought game, and it's not like they got blown out or anything like that. But it's like, the fact that you lost by 3 and you had the stat lines you had, you're fumbling the ball in crunch time, you're throwing the interceptions. It's like, you don't have those plays, you win that game, man. The ball's in your hands when they need you the most, and you fumble. Like, not literally, but I mean, like, just like you fumble the bag, man. Like, when they need you the most, the overthrow, that's a big miss. You can't ignore that. You cannot ignore that. If that was any other quarterback, they're getting stoned on the streets. Okay. If God forbid, if Jalen Hurts scrambles and fumbles like that and lose the ball, I'm just saying, I can only use my quarterback as a reference because I watch every last one of his games, every last snap. Josh Allen just deserves a lot of criticism right now. And again, this is coming from a fan. I like him. I think he's an awesome football player. He is very fun to watch, but that game's on him. And shout out to the Broncos for their defense for showing up and pretty much embarrassed. They embarrassed them. They did. We can point the finger at James Cook. We can point the finger at Dawson Knox, Dalton Cage, Khalil Shakir. Well, they're not good enough. They're not good enough. I saw plenty of plays where they made plays. And like Kevin just said, Khalil Shakir, he's 100% last 2 games in receptions. God, I don't remember last time I saw an Eagles player go 6 for 6 or 9 for 9. You know what I mean? And we have, hell, our third string receiver is probably just as good as Khalil Shakir. So it's like the guys are there making plays. He has the playmakers. He had the leading rusher in the league as well, too. Let's not forget about that. we got to look at who is the main culprit, and I think it's Josh Allen. So Sean McDermott, did he deserve to be fired? Maybe, whatever. But on top of that, we need to be criticizing Josh Allen. He's had the teams, he's had the players, he's had the defense at one point. Look where we're at. So perfect opportunity for him to go to the Super Bowl, and he fumbled.
Yeah, because I was right there with you picking the Bills to get all the way to the Super Bowl. I picked them to win it all from the start because of that opportunity that the Bills had in front of them with no Lamar, no Patrick Mahomes, a.k.a. the boogeyman, no Joe Burrow. The AFC seemed to be wide open, and yet the Bills get eliminated in the divisional round. Now joining us is none other than the Podfather, Mr. Jaevon Toddy, to give us his reaction to the Broncos beating the Bills 33-30 in overtime.
Josh Allen, what the fuck are you doing? what are you doing, brother? Like, my brother in Christ, this is your opportunity to get the job. I mean, I just think he had a really bad game. I'm not going to jump off the ship and say, oh, he's Dak, like somebody on this podcast. I just sometimes when he has the ball in his hand, and it's like, it's what he's known for, and it's what got him here to like the point that he is now, a former MVP, obviously. His style of play has just been very backyard footballish, and he's going to live by it, and he's going to die by it. And he definitely died by it this past game. It was a very back and forth game. Broncos kind of took a commanding lead early on. Buffalo figured out ways to get back into the game, but Josh Allen was not really helping them. He was, but he was also hurting them at the same time. And I kind of go back. I like to refer to Lamar Jackson's game last year in the playoffs when he had those 2 interceptions, but he had the opportunity to kind of to go down and tie the game, but they had dropped the. That's crazy.
Drop the ringtone.
Adam Schefter news. What's going on, Toddy? What's going on?
I was what was I talking about? Yeah, so last year when Lamar had the opportunity to tie the game basically at the end of the game against the Bills, I think that was the divisional round, and then it was Mark Andrews that dropped the 2-point conversion. They wouldn't have been in that same position without Lamar Jackson. Same thing with this game here, and really, really insane play at the end of the game. I think it was Shavers that had the interception catch. Was it a catch? Was it an interception? I'm seeing a lot of side-by-sides, and it kind of looks like he has the ball in his possession with his knee down. And then basically after that little frame-by-frame shot of him having his knee down, with the ball in his possession, it ends up getting snatched out of his hands as he rolls over. So they didn't really review that as much as they should have, because in overtime, usually everything is kind of like a booth review, so it's kind of a bang-bang play. And they didn't really get it. Buffalo didn't really have a chance to challenge that. So that you could argue that was a catch. It was kind of usually when the ball and the receiver and the corner usually have, when they catch the ball kind of like at the same time, usually the ball goes to the offensive player. But in this case, they called it an interception, which was kind of strange. I thought it was a catch, in my opinion. But that was just one of the many plays that you could argue. Not all games usually come down to one play, but Josh Allen just has to take care of the ball better. I think moving forward, obviously, Bo Nix is out with a freak injury. I really don't know when the play occurred. At some point in time, because
That was the last play.
Kind of looking back at it, it seemed like he didn't really seem like he had like a limp or anything. Even in his post-game interview, like he seemed like he was fine. So kind of hard to really pinpoint when it actually happened, but that's gotta suck. I mean, going to the AFC Championship, this was the last time, basically, since Peyton Manning was your quarterback. Being the AFC Championship, hosting the AFC Championship, that is. And now you got Jared Stidham taking snaps. Hasn't thrown a ball in 2 years. But guess what? He's playing in the AFC Championship game. So, as far as the Bills go, I know that they fired McDermott earlier today. We'll probably get into that a little later. But Josh Allen needs coach. So, very interesting to see how both teams look moving forward. Oh, go ahead.
I apologize. I just wanted to say we're merging McDermott in right here, right now. So what was your reaction to that news?
I mean, it's kind of run its course a little bit. I would like to see Josh Allen have an offensive-minded head coach. There's a bunch of guys out there that are kind of similar in style to Sean McDermott. Like, I think if they go out and hire like a Mike Tomlin, he's like a very similar-ish type of coach. I don't know if Mike Tomlin is going to coach. I think he really actually wants to take a year off. He's been coaching since I was a child. So, I mean,
19 or 20 plus years, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, he might actually want to take a break. I mean, if there are other defensive-minded guys out there, I honestly have no idea where the Bills are going to go as far as offensive head coaching. It's really tough because McDermott's not a bad coach. I think he's a pretty good coach. I just think his time kind of ran its course. They just kept hitting the wall, obviously, going up against Patrick Mahomes every single year. And a lot of people felt like this was the year for them to kind of make that leap. And they kind of limp into the playoffs a little bit with them being the 6th seed and, having the opportunity of there's no Patrick Mahomes, there's no Lamar Jackson, and there's no Joe Burrow. So this should be a cakewalk, right? And they come up short. I do think this Bills organization needs to build around Josh Allen a little bit better. For him to not really have any type of receivers, it's a little bit alarming. He's thrown it to guys like Khalil Shakir, who's usually like a 3, and Brandon Cooks, who wasn't even in the league a few weeks ago. And then Keon Coleman is like in and out of the lineup, but he was supposed to be a first-round receiver a couple of years ago. There are weeks where he's just a healthy scratch. So, I mean, I think the defense is pretty good for the most part. I just think their offense just needs to be a little bit better. I get that he makes a ton of money, but at the same time, he should be able to have some type of weapon. Obviously, there's James Cook back there, but he didn't really. He played well. I just think sometimes his ball security can be tested. I do think this Bills team has a lot to improve on moving forward.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll say in response to the McDermott conversation is you mentioned Mike Tomlin, and I agree with your point that he may be a great option, but ultimately he is a defensive coach. Like you were saying, the Bills probably need to go more towards an offensive coach. And then, as Kevin mentioned, Mike Tomlin was the head coach of the Steelers for 19 years, and he was a defensive coordinator before that. Most recently, before his Steelers tenure with the Minnesota Vikings, he was their defensive coordinator. So he's been coaching in the NFL for 20-plus years, and he definitely wants to take a year off. That's what it seems like. He'll probably go do TV. I saw a clip of him watching his daughter compete for the Georgia Bulldogs in gymnastics, and someone highlighted on social media that Mike Tomlin looks the most rested that he has been in 2 decades. He looks like he finally got a full night of sleep, because even you think back to that loss in the AFC wildcard round, the game ended at like midnight and he was back at the facility by 5 a.m. So the dude's probably been sleeping for like 3 to 4 hours for years, at least during the season. And so Mike Tomlin, and also something to note about Mike Tomlin is similar to Sean Payton when he retired or stepped away from the New Orleans Saints. And then when he came back to become the coach of the Denver Broncos, they had to trade compensation for him because he was still under contract with the Saints. That's the same case with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's still under contract. And so whoever wants to hire Mike Tomlin would have to give the Steelers something to hire him. Also, we haven't talked about this at all. We had just briefly talked about, as Cordell highlighted in the YouTube comments, that the Titans are finalizing a deal to hire 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, who
the fuck?
Yeah, you
I
missed
text
that.
you.
Yeah, that just happened like 15 minutes ago. That's
When?
from Schefter. So
Today?
Robert Saleh's off the table.
Holy shit.
And something else that we haven't even mentioned is that John Harbaugh got hired or finalized a deal with the New York Giants, and Kevin Stefanski, he got hired by the Atlanta Falcons. So for Toddy talking about an offensive-minded head coach, Kevin Stefanski is one guy who is off the table for a team like the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Bills, they're competing for a championship, so they're going to fire their coach later in the cycle. But yeah, Toddy, Robert Saleh, he gone. We kind of expected that. But you know, let's get right to that, because Toddy, it's time for us to read the obituary for our San Francisco 49ers in the season
Good
that
God.
was, because the Seahawks beat the 49ers 41-6 on Saturday night. And I said in the intro that I didn't think it could get worse, Jaevon, than that week 18 loss to the Seahawks when the 49ers lost 13-3. And it just felt like a struggle the entire time. This game was arguably over on the first play of the game because Rashid Shaheed returns a kickoff for a touchdown. The Seahawks get the touchdown. They get the extra point. They have 7 points, like 15 seconds in the game. The 49ers scored 6 points in this entire game. If the 49ers still had Jake Moody, they probably would have been shut out 41-0. Thank you, God, for Eddie Pinheiro that the 49ers didn't get shut out, but they lose this game by 35 points to their bitter rival, the Seattle Seahawks. And now the expected news. I didn't know it was going to be the Titans, but I expected Saleh to get hired by someone. As Adam Schefter just reported about 20 minutes ago, the Tennessee Titans are finalizing a deal to hire Robert Saleh. Toddy, we'll get to that in a moment, but what was your reaction to the Seahawks beating the 49ers 41-6?
I mean, it's just we scored.
I'm there with you.
We scored 9 points in 2 games against Seattle. So in 3 weeks, we scored 9 points. 3 points the first game and 6 points on the road in Seattle. I mean, it's like I don't really have anything to say. It's kind of just we got our asses whooped, fair and square. I mean, I'm walking in, took Mako to a birthday party earlier, went to go pick up some pizza, had some family over. I'm walking in the door. All I see is Rashid Shaheed running down the sideline. I fell to my knees. First play of the game.
Dropped his son and the pizza.
I couldn't believe it, bro. It was like, are you serious? There's no way. Well, I'm pumped up, talking shit to everybody. Me and Kevin's friend, Ephraim, it's been going back and forth to me the entirety of the day. And I'm just like, you know what, man? I think we'll be okay. And then he had the news earlier about Sam Darnold and his oblique injury. I saw that news come out, and I instantly looked at the line for the game, which was 7 points, to see if the line would have dropped. Didn't budge all game. So Vegas was like, he good. He was they're basically trying to say, hey, ain't nothing wrong with that boy. So, we ran on 4th and 1, a trick play with Kyle Juszczyk, a fullback dive, pitch to the short side of the field to Christian McCaffrey on 4th and 1. When we ran that play, and it was like the first quarter, I was like, yeah, it's going to be a long day. My kicker was trying to slide tackle Shaheed on the first open. Like, he's doing it. Like,
hey, man, he's a soccer player. He's a soccer player.
Tonjes he just went down out of nowhere. He the ghost got the power plant. Just chalk it up to the power plant. Substation. It's very, very, you kind of look at it like, were we just running on E for like the last 6 weeks and just didn't know that our tank was empty and we were just running by faith the entire time? I mean, good hell, it was fucking 34-6 at halftime. I'm
Good
just
hell,
like,
that's a new one.
and I'm just like, hey man, all we got to do is got to go in there. We got to score. Like we couldn't even put drives together. Like Sam Darnold completed 12 passes in this game for like a $120.
Pedestrian numbers.
Charbonnet tore his ACL in this game.
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I mean, Kenneth Walker played a hell of a game. Obviously, their defense, man, is just so physical. Like they just punch you and punch you and punch you in the face. And it just keeps on reminding me of that one video of Marshawn Lynch. So he keeps saying, I just kept on raining into his face over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's what it was. It was an ass beating. Like, I don't really know what there's nothing really much to say. I mean, I'd say younger me, like maybe like 10, like teenage me would like still be very, very distraught about it. But then, the grown me is still distraught about it, obviously. But then I realized that I'm still an adult and I still have to pay bills. So I can't be too sad about it because my wallet, it was just an ass whooping. Like, I really don't have much to say about it. It's just, it is what it is. Purdy didn't really have much time to throw. I thought Ricky Pearsall would have had some type of something to make a difference in this game. It didn't really matter. Like, most of the things that we did on offense just didn't matter because we really couldn't do anything. Yeah, got our asses whooped. Seattle was the favorite to win the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, oh my God, I don't even want to say the words, the phrase. Like, bro, and the Super Bowl is in Santa Clara. That's just cherry on top. That's great. Yeah. Somebody else is gonna win it. So I don't know, man. It's very frustrating because the entire season we're fighting with one hand behind our back, and I thought that we could still do it. Seattle showed us a different way that you guys cannot do it. You guys are not gonna be able to do it. And I mean, hey. They got us again. So it was bad. Very, very bad. 41-6. Yeah. This is the worst loss I think I've ever seen in my life. And it might be the worst loss in my Niner history.
It's
playoff is sometimes we set a record. We set a record on Saturday. So
yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Everyone's in my DMs. It's certainly up there, Toddy.
And my younger brother posted me on his Instagram, sad, sitting on my couch. So I mean, hey, people posted my group chat conversations. Those were private. Those were private. I wrote those in confidence. Yeah, it is what it is, man. I'll take my lumps. Looking forward to the draft.
Yeah, Toddy, I had a similar experience. Even though she is a fellow 49ers fan, my girlfriend, Allie, she kind of did something similar to me on Instagram. And it was honestly so funny that I had to repost it, where we went to my brother's house to watch the game. And that was nice. My brother's birthday was on Friday, hung out with him on Saturday. And we watched that game, and it was just absolutely awful. We all had a terrible time, like good time hanging out with each other, terrible time watching the game. And so after Allie and I left his house, we stopped by the grocery store on the way home to pick up some ingredients for dinner the next night, but then also to get some more alcoholic beverages because they were needed. And so Allie recorded me on Instagram, and she zoomed in on the spiked lemonades. And then she panned to me, and I'm just standing there in all my 49ers gear, gold chain included, and I'm just shaking my head with such a deadpan face. And the caption that she put on it is big, fat, fucking loser vibes, because that's exactly what it was, and it was pretty accurate, and that's why I had to repost it. And, yeah, and when I went to that grocery store, Kaz and Kevin, you'll get a kick out of this, because there was a Rayleigh's worker who just looked at me and just laughed and just walked away and just laughed. And then I said, who's your team? He said, oh, I'm a Rams fan. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, I fucking hope you lose to Caleb tomorrow. And then as we're walking out, there's a security guard who is talking to him, and they are talking about us very clearly because they're being very loud. And the security guard says, man, fuck them. They took my team out. They deserve that. Man, I'm a Philly fan. Fuck them. I was like, and I was just like, all right, cool. Thanks, man. And then even today, I go to the gym, and right when I walk in, I go to put my stuff down, and there's this old man just staring at me. And I can tell he's trying to make eye contact with me. And I look at him as I'm walking in, put my stuff down. He's still looking at me. And then I look at him again as I'm about to walk to a machine. And he just shakes his head and he said, not this year, because I'm wearing this shirt right here that I'm wearing for today's podcast, which is 2023 NFC Conference Champions, San Francisco 49ers. And I thought it was appropriate to leave this shirt on for today's podcast because this is the only championship that Toddy and I have experienced in our life is 3 conference championships. That's the best it's going to get. Kevin likes to talk about how we always wear sweatsuits. Well, guess what? I buy conference championship merch because this is the best it's going to get as a San Francisco 49ers fan. And the thing I said to that older gentleman is I said, not this year. I was born in 1998. It's never my year. And he just shook his head and he just said, oh, man. And he kind of stopped after that because he could just feel my pain. He could hear it in the tone of my voice, and he could just understand just how I was feeling in that moment. And, you know, I understand. I wear 49ers gear in public right after a loss like that. I'm a target. I get it. If I don't want to hear about it, then I shouldn't wear any 49ers gear. But guess what? I really don't give a shit because this is going to be my team until I die. I might be 75 years old by the time that the 49ers finally fucking win a Super Bowl, but it's going to happen eventually. And if it doesn't happen in my lifetime, maybe it'll happen in my children's lifetime or their children's lifetime. It'll happen eventually, but it hasn't happened anytime soon or anytime recently. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. I don't even want to get into the phrasing of maybe next year. Next year's our year, because then I turn into a Cowboys fan. And then I become the person who makes fun of this meme where the Dallas Cowboys cycle, season starts, win some games, fans get their hopes up. We them boys, this is our year. Bang, bang, Niner gang, this is our year. Choking the playoffs. We're currently here. I can't say next year is our year because this is the same cycle. And so I refuse to say next year is our year because I'm not going to end up like a Cowboys fan. But, man, it sure does suck to be a 49ers fan born in 1998 because I know nothing but pain. Those 5 Super Bowls are great. I like to bring them up when Kevin's like, oh, I got 2 rings, and, oh, the 49ers have 5. But then he's like, oh, yeah, you're swimming along. You were in your daddy's nutsack when the 49ers fucking won a Super Bowl. And so this is life as a San Francisco 49ers fan born in 1998. And when it comes to the outcome of Saturday's game, I would rather lose a game like that than to have my heart ripped out of my chest in the final seconds like they did in the last 2 Super Bowls. But the caveat with that for this particular game is not against that team. Anyone but that team. The Rams, the Cardinals, the Eagles, anyone but that team. The team that I hate more than any other professional sports franchise. I don't hate the Lakers more. I don't hate the Michigan Wolverines more. I hate no other team more than I hate the Seattle Seahawks. So to get absolute, we joke around about BTA, belt to ass. That game was the definition of belt to ass. If you look it up in the dictionary, it's going to say Seahawks 41, 49ers 6. Because that's what we saw on Saturday night. And like I said, I would rather have my team get the doors blown off of them than get my heart ripped out in the final seconds, but not against that team. Anyone but that team. And that's exactly what happened. The Seahawks are elite. The Seahawks are going to go on to win the Super Bowl. Their defense is tremendous. and Sam Darnold can throw for 123 passing yards or whatever the fuck it was, and he's going to be a Super Bowl champion. And he's going to do it in the place he played as a backup in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. Just got to take deep breaths to get through this. A couple stats that I wanted to highlight that I think are relevant before we hear from the Philadelphia Eagles panel, who, Kaz, I saw the smirk on your face when we started this segment. I hope this has given you everything that you were looking forward to and that you wanted. And this is the karma that I deserve for airing out the receipt clips. But Brock Purdy was running for his life on Saturday night. He didn't even play bad, but he traveled 413 yards on 33 dropbacks against the Seahawks per Next Gen Stats. That is, I think Tom Brady said it during the broadcast, that's the closest that we have seen a quarterback running for their life since Patrick Mahomes had that happen to him in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 413 yards on 33 dropbacks. Let's just pull out the calculator real quick. Let's see how much he averaged every single dropback. Oh, Brock Purdy is running 12 and a half yards per dropback, running for his life. Trent Williams and Jake Brendel can only do so much. The other three linemen have to fucking do something. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to run the ball like Christian McCaffrey struggled to. And Brock Purdy is not going to have any time to throw the ball unless he's running for his life to the sideline, just chucks it up, and hope that someone is down there to catch it. One other stat I wanted to get to, coming into this game, Christian McCaffrey had scored a TD in all 8 of his career postseason games. That streak, obviously, has now come to an end. He now finishes with Emmitt Smith and John Stallworth with 8 to start his postseason career, which was an active streak. Now it's come to an end. He falls one short of former Buffalo Bills running back Thurman Thomas, who did it in 9 straight games. So great statistic for Christian McCaffrey. Gets snapped. The 49ers, their season is over. And I know I'm angry. I know I'm upset. But the one thing I will say is that it's tremendous that the 49ers even got this far. They should have missed the playoffs. They should not have won a playoff game. But yet, in the toughest division in football, without a doubt, and that is shown by the fact that the 2 remaining teams from this division are playing for a conference championship. One of them is guaranteed to play for a Super Bowl. The fact that the 49ers survived the gauntlet that was the NFC West this season, despite all the injuries to Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle off and on, Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, the list goes on. It's tremendous that the 49ers even got here, and so I should be happy. But with the way that that ended against that team, I'm angry. And that was a pathetic performance on Saturday night. Congrats to the Seahawks. Congrats to the Eagles fans. The birds are flying high right now. Kevin, what was your reaction to Saturday night's game?
As much as I want to get into this, Kaz has been twiddling his fingers, so I would love to hear what Kaz has to say.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to toss it to him, but I saw you had yourself unmuted. Please, Kaz, go ahead.
This is what happened. What happens when the team that had no business winning a fucking playoff game wins a playoff game? It should have never been you guys in the first place.
Should have been us.
Listen, it's not even about that. It ain't even about that. It ain't about that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy. But I was just like, they don't have a shot. Like not a chance in hell. I don't care what you did in the regular season. I don't care what you did against us. It was clear cut and dry. Like I said, I think last week after we lost, it's like, you guys didn't beat us. We beat us. And I'm sticking to that. We beat us. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that we would go to the Super Bowl. I don't know. That shit wouldn't happen. And hell no. Not like that. And I get it. Well, you lost to the Cowboys after being up 21-0. Okay, cool. You lost to the Bears. They ran all over you guys, whatever, nothing like that. Absolutely not. That's 110% unacceptable in the playoffs, especially the second round. The wild card round, things can happen. Divisional round, that should be some good hard-nosed football. unless you're going against, I'm talking like, hell, the Eagles last year. If you're going against the Eagles last year and you happen to slip and fall in the divisional round, and I don't know, say you're like the Green Bay Packers or a team like, hell, the Vikings, it's like, clear cut. That Eagles team last year, not to talk too much about the Eagles, but like, that's better than every team in the playoffs right now. That Eagles team last year beat the fuck out of all these teams. If you disagree with me, you're crazy. So I'm just going to say, when it comes to this game, when it comes to how good the 49ers, injuries aside, doesn't matter, were supposed to be, they had no business being in that position. And I'm not going to really be super, like, ha, you guys lost, whatever. I don't want to be like that. But what I will say is this. That is what you call belt to ass. Trying to tell all you Niners fans that it was never your time. And you told me, hold on, you told me after I was on my tirade about how we lost the game. You guys didn't beat us, we beat us. You told me that. And I sat there and I heard you, Sean. I heard you. And you went over all these things about, no, we always find ways to win. And, Kyle Shanahan this and then all that stuff. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen a game more evident in at least the last 10 years, probably. Rough guess. That has proven yet again, you guys had no business being there. And I think you said it yourself. If I missed your words, but you said you guys shouldn't even made the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the vibes we were having last week, though. Not last week.
Because they found a way. They found a way to get there, and the fact that they found a way to get there is tremendous.
They found a way to get there, and then it immediately turned into. And I think that Jaevon said the same thing. I believe that this is a team that can win the Super Bowl. I don't know what kind of shit they have on the West Coast that y'all are snorting, but holy goddamn! Wow. That would be like me saying after Carson Wentz went down against the Rams, and we go to the playoffs and go, you know what? I think that Nick Foles is going to win us the Super Bowl. Now, did it happen? Absolutely. Hey, happy for it. But to say it, nah. So you know what? Man to man, again, not going to rub salt in the wounds too hard. That was my little belt BTA. That's all I really got for you. But what I'll say is this. It should have been the Eagles. And I think that you both know deep down we were the team that should have been in position to compete to go to the NFC Championship game because it was just right. It was right.
Y'all
it had nothing to do. Was that?
You guys would have beat Seattle?
We wouldn't have played Seattle. We played Chicago. And yes, we would beat Chicago.
Okay,
we would have beat Chicago. We would have beat Chicago. Without a doubt. In Chicago. Without a doubt. But
so if you beat Chicago in the divisional round, the Seahawks beat the Rams.
We don't know that. We don't know that though.
Okay, but let's just say that Philly played in Seattle. Would Philly have gone to Seattle and won?
I think it'd been a great game. I can't confidently say we'd win. Nope, I can't confidently say that.
Okay,
I think it would have been a great game. I think that
they lost to Chicago.
I'm talking like grit on grit, just Philadelphia. If we're down, we're gonna fight. Our defense is gonna be able to put pressure on Sam Darnold. We match up a lot better. You know what I mean? Because our defense literally has been playing really well. We're getting turnovers. We played really well against you guys defensively. We just didn't do anything on offense. So to look at that Seattle defense or that Seattle offense, not to talk too much about the Eagles, but just quickly, they have a JSN. We have a Quinyon Mitchell. They have a Zach Charbonnet and a Kenneth Walker. Okay. We have edge rushers. We have great linebackers. We have Jalen Carter. We have Jordan. There's nothing about that Seattle offense that scares me. Now, talk about their defense. Philadelphia has not had an offense all season long. So what is that defense going to do differently than what we've already been doing to ourselves offensively? What will they do? I mean, we're going to just run the ball up the gut on 3rd and long like we've been doing? Okay, we'll punt. we'll punt. So, I mean, we can sit here and draw up hypotheticals and maybe say, oh, well, they'd probably pick off Jalen Hurts, or maybe they'd get strip sacks or fumbles. Possibly, but we'll never know. But what I will say is there's nothing that the Seattle defense was going to do, can do, and hell, who knows, more than likely probably would have done if we played them, that we haven't already been seeing all season long with Philadelphia. We haven't had an offense. Like, you can't make an offense less of an offense when there is no offense. So, yes, I think that if we played Seattle, we would have put up a much better fight. We have a better offense than you guys, without a doubt. You don't think we have better offense than you? Weapons?
Kaz, I'm sorry.
This
I'm
is the
just
same guy that
just
keeps saying,
confused.
I don't wanna talk about you
I'm
this
really
much.
just confused.
Wait,
Toddy, if you want to respond, you can go ahead and respond. I was just saying I was confused, but Toddy, please go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. I'm confused now. What did I say that confused you?
Okay, well, I'll just jump in and to say what confused me is you're talking about how your offense couldn't do anything all season.
Right, yeah.
And so what their defense would do to your offense, who is already stagnant and can't do anything.
Yeah.
But yet somehow it would have been a great game. It
Because of our
feels
defense.
like to me that it's hard to say that the Eagles would have lost by 5 touchdowns because the 49ers got absolutely steamrolled. But I can confidently say that the Eagles would have lost by double digits in Seattle as young Mr. Mako makes an appearance on the podcast wearing his Woody pajamas.
I would say this because our offense couldn't get any worse and our defense would have gave Sam Darnold some struggles. I bet that game, if the Eagles played the Seahawks, would be a 21-17 game. Confidently, if we lose. Either we win that game or 21-17. We're not losing by double digits in the division round. That's not a real thing. I don't know.
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. I don't know who would perform, but I'll tell you what right now. Either our defense is going to show up the way they've been doing or our offense will figure some shit out. I don't know, but it would not be like that. That's all I'm saying. I just feel like there's better teams that could have been in that position. It's the playoffs. It happens. Teams lose games. Weird games, but they lose games. I'll just say that out of all the games, divisional games, that was the one game to where I was like, this wasn't supposed to be a thing. And it was clear. It was clear as day. And not just because you guys are getting your ass whooped. That game could have been 21-24. And I would have still said the same thing. This was not supposed to be the game. I don't feel like that was supposed to be the game. Whether you played us or Chicago first or hell, Green Bay, it doesn't matter. Every team in the NFC that was in the playoffs, I felt was better than the 49ers. I know you had a great record. I understand that. But every team that's in the playoffs, if you were to look at them on paper, okay, and what the potential is, and all of the mishaps in San Fran with the injuries, and obviously George Kittle going out obviously during the game, but either way, with the injuries, I'm not you stop CMC, you stop the Niners. It's just that simple. So happy you guys lost. Ain't gonna lie, very happy. Feels good. You guys know I'm from the Midwest. We got a lot of Bears fans around here, and I actually was cheering for the Bears because I want to see my friends happy. But the week before that, they were talking big shit to me too. The seats on the couches, they're nice and warm. Got Bears homies right here, got the Niners homies right here, and we still got the big seat with the reclining. Okay, and we got the big bottles. Y'all got Bud Lights and shit. We got big bottles in our seats, so we're still good.
Hey, at least give me some Modelo or something. But as Cousin James says on YouTube, we did all that with most of our team out. Imagine next year when we have those players back, it's over. Definitely don't get to worry about Philly. I guess we'll never know because the Niners sent their ass to Cancun first. Seems to me like someone still hasn't gotten over last week. 49ers versus Eagles in the Cancun Conference Championship this weekend. Kevin, real quickly, what were your thoughts on the Seahawks putting belt to ass on the Niners?
So, Kaz, I don't know if you knew this, but I was in Seattle this weekend. So I got a chance to explore Seattle fans, see how they get down. And I go into enemy territory wearing my Eagles gear. And I'm sitting at the bar for the game. Look, come here. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Alyssa needed paper towel, so I had to run out and grab some. Whew. Anyways, this game came down to two things. They scored more points than you guys did in 13 seconds. And I don't understand the 45-minute rant you two went on. You guys have been losers your whole life. Do we hear Charlotte Hornets fans get mad when they get a lottery pick? Do we get mad? Do we hear Chicago Bear or Chicago Bulls fans get mad when they suck? No.
You might as well shout out the Sacramento Kings while we're at it.
Shaun, you said it best yourself. This is the best it's going to get. 41-6. James, I'm happy you're here. You guys, James is one of those fans that says every year's our year. We'll be back. But unfortunately, you won't. You guys had a good run. And like I said, you guys are a bougie Cowboys. You guys make it, they don't. But at the end of the day, you both don't win. So, yeah, everyone's going to say, well, we beat the Eagles. Hang the banner up. We beat the Eagles. But at the end of the day, they don't hang up banners for one-offs. When we beat you guys, we hang banners. So it is what it is. We're all in Cancun together. But you guys are on the poor man's Cancun, and we're on the top floor. It's just levels to it all. That's all I got.
Kevin, that's pretty interesting for you to say. It's interesting. I'm finding one little thing to pick at, but it's interesting to hear Kevin say that when we beat you guys, we win banners, because the last time that you beat us in the playoffs, the only banner you hung was a conference championship banner. And so
still a banner.
I guess we'll have to find out what happens, because the Niners have won their last two games against the Eagles. So I'm looking forward to that next matchup. As we keep things moving here on episode 176 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent, Kaz Johnson, and Jaevon Toddy. We briefly touched on the fact that the Titans are finalizing a deal to hire Robert Saleh as their head coach. We're running out of time, so we'll have to get to that in another week alongside John Harbaugh and Kevin Stefanski. But now, guys, as we're keeping things moving to the Sunday games of the divisional round, the Patriots beat the Texans 28-16. And so, Kaz, what was your reaction to this one? Was it more so what the Patriots did correctly, or was it Kevin and I's guy, CJ Stroud, just absolutely shit in the bed for the Houston Texans that led to the New England Patriots moving on?
Yeah, it's Stroud, 100%. Texans. Well, they didn't have Nico, if I'm not mistaken, too, which does suck.
Yes, that is correct.
It does not matter. That's just same thing with Josh Allen, but times two. Can't do that in playoffs, man. Especially the second round. That's unacceptable. CJ Stroud needs to be drugged through the streets of fucking Bethlehem. Okay, wow. One of the worst playoff performances I think I've ever seen from a quarterback. And if the defense didn't play well, wouldn't be as hard on CJ. The defense did their job. They were putting it to Drake May. Drake May didn't have a normal Drake May game. I'm pretty sure he didn't have over 200 yards. I know he threw a touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. I know he had a touchdown to Stephon Diggs. But
Yes, sir.
all in all, though, he still – how many turnovers did he have?
CJ Stroud, I think he had 5.
No. Drake May.
4.
Drake May had a pick and 2 fumbles.
Yeah. I'm saying he turned the ball over. Okay, and anyone who knows anything about football, you have a quarterback who turns the ball over twice. More often than not, you're probably going to lose that game unless you're playing against a very bad team. So the fact that it was just a turnover-oriented game, and the Texans defense played again lights out. The Patriots defense played like how the Texans defense normally plays, except for most of the times that the Patriots defense did well. It wasn't because, just like the 49ers, it wasn't because of what they were doing. It's because of what CJ was doing to himself. He made the Patriots defense look good, just like we made the San Francisco 49ers look good. Okay? It's not the same thing. The Patriots have a solid team all around. They have a great offense. They have a great quarterback, potential MVP, and obviously an amazing head coach. But that defense is not a defense that's going to give you 5 turnovers or however many they had. Well, over 4 for sure. That's on CJ Stroud. Not much really to say else about that game. there needs to be some questions asked about that Texans offense. They had enough weapons. They have a great tight end. No Nico Collins there, but even when Nico Collins was there, I mean, was CJ Stroud out there threading the needle throughout the regular season? The answer is no. And then in the playoffs, he stinks it up. So not that either team would have made it really, but hell, who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers should have handled business and they should have been in that position. They probably wouldn't have done much either, but regardless, I think they would have did a lot better than that. I don't foresee Aaron Rodgers putting up that stat line, even though he ended his season in possible career on an interception, a pick six. I don't think that he goes out like that. So, yeah, CJ, you're in the hot seat, not to lose your job, but you're in the hot seat to be crowned as one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. As of right now, he looks like he's bottom 25.
It's super crazy to hear that. And Kaz, you're not wrong, but it's crazy to hear it because after his rookie year, we were saying he is minimum top 10, maybe could even crack the top 5. And credit to CJ, he did take ownership for it in his post-game press conference where he just said, I know I had a bad game. I know I had a bad season, and I'm going to be in the lab trying to work on it because I'm not a quitter. I'm going to come right back next year. Kevin, we're obviously Ohio State Buckeyes fans on this podcast, and you like to refer to CJ as Coleridge Bernard, his government name. I'm not happy about what happened on Sunday. What was your reaction to the Patriots beating the Texans 28-16, largely in part to CJ's poor performance?
We sit here, and the first 3 weeks, we thought the Texans were going to be in contention for the number 1 pick. DeMeco Ryans turns this defense around. But Cass said it. This offense is shit. Besides Nico Collins, you're throwing at 2 rookies. Woody Marks wasn't even supposed to be their running back. They had the guy from the Bengals. I don't know why his name is mentioned. Why I can't think of his name. They brought in Nick Chubb.
Joe Mixon.
So they had a lot of injuries happen to this team. And when they got rid of Larry Tunsil, it said one thing and one thing only to me. They're in rebuild mode. And this team was just able to climb up the ranks due to the Colts falling down. If the Colts don't ever decrease, we don't talk about the Texans being in this position. So Shaun said it, with the Niners should have been in this position. The Texans should not have been in this position. Whoever was going to play the Steelers round 1 was going to win. I don't really think it's so much on Coleridge Bernard, CJ Stroud. I know he had a bad game. Yes, he had a bad game. He threw the ball away multiple times. Cat said it. You can't turn the ball over twice and expect to win. He turned it over 5 times. It's his fourth playoff game. And the last thing I'm going to say is he has the same amount of wins as Lamar Jackson, 3. So he's off to a better start. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Lamar Jackson, but we can't sit here and crucify him when we make excuses for Lamar Jackson. So if we're going to crucify, we're going to crucify. We can't play both sides of the coin.
Yeah, that's totally understandable, as now we're moving on to the final game from Divisional Round weekend. And just for the audio-only listeners to know, Toddy said he had to bow out for the rest of the podcast, podfather duties to tend to. And so now getting to the last game of the weekend, the Rams beat the Bears 20-17 in overtime. And it's a shame that Toddy had to go handle more important responsibilities because his guy, Caleb Williams, he had himself a game. And yeah, it ends with an interception for Caleb Williams. But man, oh man, that throw on 4th down in the 4th quarter, seconds to go, was absolutely insane. So much so that I just got to put this Caleb meme on the screen because Caleb was a real cool guy on Sunday. The Rams ultimately win 20-17 in overtime, but the fact that this game even got to overtime was pretty remarkable because the Bears get down to 4th down. They're in the red zone. I believe it was 12 yards out, but Caleb has to backpedal, run backwards, run all around. He ends up running back to the 40 because 2 Rams defensive linemen are closing in on him from each side. He runs away from them. He backpedals like 25 yards, and he chucks it up. And in the moment that he just chucked it up, I literally said, this game is over. I said it out loud. I was watching it with Ali, and I just said, this game is over the second that he threw the ball. And then just suddenly, Cole Kmet is there, and he catches it with ease. Touchdown, Bears. They go to overtime. It looked like the Bears had stolen this win from the Rams, because then the Bears, if memory serves correctly, the Rams had to punt to start overtime, and then the Bears, they are driving, but then Caleb Williams takes a shot deep, gets it intercepted. Rams get the ball back. They come back down, kick a field goal with the thicker kicker, Mevis, and ultimately LA is moving on. We have an all NFC West Conference Championship game for the right to go play for the Super Bowl on their rivals' home field. Oh, man, this was a gut punch for me, and I'm not even a Chicago Bears fan, so I can only imagine how Toddy felt and how the rest of Kaz's friends felt, as well as Bears fans worldwide. But Kaz, if you could, I'm going to start things off with you. Just what was the reaction from the Midwest regarding the Bears losing to the Rams 20-17 in overtime? Kaz, we can't. I can't hear Kaz right now.
You're muted.
I had my mic muted.
Okay,
I was
cool.
out of town visiting my friends in my hometown, which you guys know I live on the border of Illinois and Iowa, so it's just across the river. I'm in Illinois, and I was at a Bears house. A good friend of mine, his dad hosted a big party, and it was all Bears fans. It was a Steelers fan, 2 Eagles fans, and the rest were Bears fans. And we went over there to support the Bears. I said, screw it. I even posted on my Facebook. I said, Bear down. Out of nowhere, and everybody's like, what the hell? And I'm like, I gotta cheer for somebody. I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and watch the playoffs and just be pissy. Like I'm gonna I'll bet or something like that. So put my money on the Bears. Obviously came up short, but honestly, it was really cool to see that last throw by Caleb that ended in a touchdown, because I don't really care about like living in the moment. I'm betting. So I had DraftKings up on my phone, and I was with the Steelers fan. We were like in the back of the bunch, just kind of like, letting the Bears fans have their moment. Watch, they're in the front, get the big screen, right? And I look at DraftKings, I see that it said that the Bears were down by 1 point, which means that they scored a touchdown because they were down by a touchdown. And I turned to him, because obviously you can't, if I were to spoil it, they're going to jump me. So I turned to him, I'm like, hey, yo, I go, they scored. He goes, no, I go, they scored somehow. He's like, shut up. I go, look, I showed him DraftKings, and they were down by a point. I go, I don't know how it's going to happen. Watch. I saw Caleb drop back. I saw him do that bullshit in the backfield. I'm like, there is no way that he run that far back and is going to score. And when I saw him let go of that ball, I'm like, what's about to happen? That's on the touchdown. They're talking about how, NFL's rigged, because why did the cornerback, not bottom the ball when it was just right there pretty much? Who knows? Who cares? Crazy play, man. Crazy play. And what sucked was I knew right then and there. Just me being a sports fan, seen it time and time again. I'm like, this game ain't over. This game ain't over. Too good to be true. They go to overtime. They have opportunities. They piss them away. And it ultimately leads to the Rams getting the ball and being in field goal range. And shout out to Devontae Adams. I think he had a really good catch in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. A really good catch. Questionable. It was a catch. He, by the hairs of his chin, did have his foot down as he got possession. He didn't bobble it, so therefore it counts as 1 point of contact in the other foot. But I mean, a winnable game. It was a tough game for the Rams to win on the road like that. The Bears obviously they're not a joke. They got guys everywhere. Bears Twitter's slandering DJ Moore for apparently slowing down on that crossing route, and I agree. I think he did slow down. That's a route where if you played any football, like when you're doing a deep crossing route like that, you run all the way to the opposing sideline. You don't let up, because the defense is already flowing that direction. And that's probably his third read, I'm guessing. So he probably thought he was going to get the ball. Bears lose. Now, I think the better team did win. I think that back to my whole, if this was a 7-game series, I think LA beats Chicago, 5 times out of 7. Okay. I think that Stafford and that offense, Kyron Williams did pretty good, but Devontae Adams was like non-existent. Puka couldn't get anything going. People want to say the cold was affecting them. I think it was affecting both teams. It's not like the Bears were playing lights out either. So a handful of turnovers. I think the better team, the better coach won. And just a good game. Fun game to watch. And as an NFL fan, putting my bias aside and my love for Philly aside, I hope that the Bears find a way to continue to be that good. Because they're going to be – this next year for Chicago is definitely going to be a revenge tour. It's going to be a revenge tour. They're not going to want to go out like that. So just watch out for Chicago.
Yeah, watch out for Chicago. Ben Johnson is definitely building something special there with Caleb Williams. And we got a comment. I'm not exactly sure who this comment is from, but it's from @StatsOverPolitics34, and there's a V icon on the photo. So that would lead me to assume it's from Vonnie, who had to step away. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Caleb top 5, which kind of confirms to me I'm pretty sure that's our boy Jaevon. Kevin, what was your reaction to the Rams beating the Bears 20-17 in overtime?
I've never really been disappointed in Ben Johnson until that game. First drive of the game, you go for it on 4th down, you throw an interception. The drive before the magical touchdown, you go for it on 4th down, you don't get it. Everyone knew the Rams were the better team. You have them down 7. You're down 16-17. You look Caleb in the mirror and say, look, there's 16 seconds on the clock. Fuck overtime. We're not playing for overtime. We're going to go and win this game. That's what I was expecting Ben Johnson to do. And all offseason, he's going to have to think about that. That's what this game came down to. He showed confidence in his team all season long, and even in that game. And when they needed him to have confidence in them the most, he did it. And I thought they lost the game at that very moment. Kaz said a lot of good things. Chicago has a lot of things going. I always said they were a year too early. So now they get a second year of Ben Johnson. They get to fill things out. But unfortunately, when you're a good team, you lose coaches. So we'll see what their coordinators look like. But Ben Johnson's a hell of a coach. They got a lot of good weapons over there. And I think DJ Moore kind of fades out of the background. Roma Dunze got hurt. So Luther Burden got to step up. Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, the 2 running backs they have. So they have a lot of things rooming. They spend a lot of money on that offensive line, and it showed. So the Bears are going to be a very good team to beat moving forward.
I completely agree. The Bears will be back. And now, guys, let's move on to this upcoming weekend, because we're going to close things out by previewing the conference championship games. And we're going to start things off on the AFC side, as the top 2 teams in the conference ended up making it to the championship game. It's a bit of a throwback. We've seen the 2016 trend going on a lot from the year that I graduated from high school. And now we're seeing a bit of a throwback to 2016 when the Broncos and the Patriots played for the AFC Championship in Denver. And we got that happening again, as the Broncos, the 1 seed, will be hosting the 2 seed Patriots this upcoming weekend. As we noted, big difference is that the Broncos will be without their starting quarterback. But as Philadelphia legend Nick Foles highlighted on Twitter, the Patriots seem to struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship situations, obviously alluding to him winning the Super Bowl. But now the Patriots are going to be going up against Jarrett Stidham, which, in my opinion, makes the Patriots a favorite. And I'm just going to give my pick. You guys could give a little bit more analysis, but I'm going with the Patriots here. It just seems like it's going to be a tough hill for the Broncos to overcome with Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback. The Broncos have won a lot of close games throughout this season, and it's been because of Bo Nix having late game heroics. Without Bo Nix, I don't know if the Broncos can end up beating this young Patriots team led by Mike Vrabel and Drake May. We talk a lot about Matthew Stafford potentially being the MVP. Drake May is the other name that you throw into that conversation. It's going to be Drake May or Matthew Stafford. That's what a lot of people think, a lot of people smarter than me. And so to basically have the AFC MVP going up against a backup quarterback, I'm taking the Patriots here. And kind of sucks because Patriots fans have been so spoiled over the years. They have 3-4 down years, and now suddenly they have a chance to go back to the Super Bowl again. I'm rolling with New England here because I think it's just going to be too much for Denver to overcome. Kevin, how about you?
If Bo Nix was playing in this game, my pick would be the same. I'm taking the New England Patriots. I know everyone wants to say the schedule's this, the schedule's that. This Broncos defense has holes, and it's been notified. Like, we've seen it throughout the playoffs. We've seen it throughout the regular season. I'm one of the people that said the Broncos even should not even be in this position. I think Brandon Cooks caught it. We saw the same situation with Devontae Adams. They called him down. They didn't call it with the Bills. But moving forward, I think the Patriots got this game. I know they're on the road. They've been at home all playoffs. I'm just going with the better quarterback. And yeah, Stidham could do a Nick Foles kind of season. But I with a weak turnaround, I don't think it's going to be able to go. So I'm going to go Patriots. I think Mike Vrabel's going to put a hell of a lot of pressure on them. And it's going to either be, like Sean said, with Brock Purdy's going to run for 400 yards, or he's going to go in there and shut everybody up. I'm willing to bet it's going to be more on the 400-yard side.
All right, Kaz, are you going to make it a clean sweep for New England, or are you going to go with – I can't believe we're saying that the top seed winning on their home field would be an upset, but are you going to go with the Broncos in a potential upset with Jarrett Stidham, or are you going to make it a clean sweep for the panel?
Clean sweep. Yeah,
dramatic pause.
I think because I want to be that guy. I do.
Yeah, I did too. I have family who live in Colorado.
You know
that
what?
Are diehard Broncos
you know what?
fans.
No. I'll take Denver. I'll take Denver. Let me tell you why.
Okay,
I'm gonna give you a real reason. I'm gonna give you a real reason. Like you said about I'm giving your 49ers hell today. Like you said about your 49ers. Y'all find a way to win games. Look at defense is all injured and da. Brock Purdy missing games and blah da. And you find ways to win. So much to where you were almost competing for a 1 seed. Okay. Yeah. And you also on this same podcast today just mentioned from I think Kevin or you, one of the two, but you said the Broncos are always playing from behind. And, you know, and Bo Nix has to play hero ball. So, therefore, they are already used to playing from behind. They're already used to not having Bo Nix show up until the fourth quarter. Who's to say that Jarrett Stidham can't come out there and actually play just as good as Bo Nix has played for just 3 quarters? Just don't turn the ball over. Okay? You got R.J. Harvey in the backfield. You got Jaleel McLaughlin. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach. Okay? You have guys on defense. I think that Kevin mentioned that there's some holes, but you still got superstars, aka like Pat Surtain. You got my guy who I love to death when he's in Philadelphia, Alex Singleton. It's a possibility. I don't think that they're a 1 seed because of Bo Nix. I think they're a 1 seed because they're just a gritty team. They're a gritty team. I think they're a team that actually deserves credit for finding ways to win. Now, I'm not trying to discredit you guys too much, but I mean, it's being a 1 seed and, you know, beating a team like Philadelphia in Philly in the middle of the season. I believe that they had other couple good games that they won this year too. I mean, they didn't lose barely any games. And again, it's not like if you look at Bo Nix's stats, he was out here just dropping bombs off. No, they were playing questionable football all season long. But one thing about their questionable football, it wasn't because of terrible quarterback play. They just have a mediocre offense. You know, nobody is saying that Bo Nix is a top 5, top 10 quarterback. I mean, you can argue top 12 to 15, but like I don't think anyone's going to say he's a top 10 quarterback. So why would we carry him or, you know, like judge him based off of what we know? He's a solid quarterback who at times shows some grit, shows some heart. He can run the ball well, can win you games down the stretch if you give him opportunities. He's a gamer. Okay. Jarrett Stidham, 110%, can go out there and put this Denver team in a position to win as long and only as long as he does not turn the ball over. I think that Sean Payton draws something up to where it makes sense. It's safe. Okay, Cortland Sutton didn't see a single catch until the fourth quarter of that last game. Like literally had zero yard. See what I'm saying? And that's their best receiver. Who said Jarrett Stidham can't go out there and just protect the football? And they can find a way to win a hard-fought game at home. Crowd's loud. It's going to be cold. I'll go ahead and be that guy. I'll take Denver to win. I think that it's going to be a boring game. It's going to be very low scoring, and I think that Sean Payton will find a way to put Jarrett Stidham in the position to succeed as long as he doesn't try to play hero ball. I'll go with Denver.
I absolutely love it. My family who live in Boulder and Louisville, Colorado, who are diehard Broncos fans, if they were listening to this, they would be shaking their head at me and telling me that I'm not repping for the fam. Broncos country, let's ride. Kaz is riding with them. I appreciate you for picking them because someone had to. I was usually the devil's advocate on this podcast, but you just explained great points and a lot of great reasoning. And next week, after the Broncos win, we're going to come back on this podcast and you'll be able to puff your chest out and be like, I was the only one who believed. And the Broncos potentially could be going back to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2015. Now, getting to the other game of Conference Championship weekend, and just for the audio-only listeners, Kevin had to step away as well, and so he'll be back with us next week. So Kaz and I will be closing things out here with this final segment regarding the top seed Seahawks hosting the number 5 seed Los Angeles Rams in an NFC West battle for the Conference Championship. The winner gets to go to their bitter rivals' home field with a chance to win a championship. And the one thing I wanted to mention, aside from the fact that Kevin on his way out did let me know that he's got the Rams. So there's one pick for the Rams right now. But the other thing I wanted to mention before I hear your pick, Kaz, is we all like to joke about the Cowboys. You look at conference championship appearances since 1997, the Cowboys have 0. Jimmy Garoppolo, on the other hand, the Rams backup quarterback, now has 7. So Jimmy Garoppolo 7, Dallas Cowboys 0 in the last 29 years. It is pretty crazy. So Kevin is going with the Rams. Kaz, who do you got in this matchup of NFC West powerhouses?
I'll take the Rams. I think we saw about as bad as Rams is going to play this season last week in the blistering cold of Chicago. They were mentioning about how Stafford, he doesn't play well in the cold, which this is how you can tell people are casual fans who don't really pay attention to anything, because it's like, dude, he played 3 games in the cold for most of his career every year when he was in Detroit. Because that was before Minnesota had their new stadium, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously Chicago and Green Bay is outside. So he's no stranger to the cold. I don't care how many years has passed by. He hasn't been in LA for 10 years. Okay. He was in Detroit not too long ago, guys. All right. On top of that, they have played a couple cold games. Not a lot, but a couple cold games. They're not like the Miami Dolphins where they just completely shit the bed in the cold. They just don't play as well. So I don't foresee Matthew Stafford not playing very well against the Seattle Seahawks team, sniffing a Super Bowl appearance. And my final reason is because who's going to stop Puka Nacua? And I don't know how you guys watch him play the game of football. I'm a player watcher. That dude plays, in basketball, I talk about how like a small guy plays like he's 6'10".
Yeah, Draymond Green.
Yeah, Puka plays like he's Megatron. Like he plays way bigger than what he is. He's always open. He catches everything contested. He's strong as all get out. And he plays very aggressive. I think that them escaping Chicago the way that they did just set them up for a lovely, lovely performance in Seattle, taking down one of their division opponents. And I also just believe that it's going to be an offensive dominant game. Seattle does have a really good defense. LA does not have the greatest defense. LA has one of the best offenses, and Seattle's offense is sparky. I don't foresee Seattle's defense just holding Stafford and Puka and Devonta Adams and then Sean McVay, also being an offensive mind. Like, I just think they're going to have a game. Could it be close? Yes, but I think that it's going to be Rams the entire game. Seattle's going to need to have Sam Darnold do what he's not going to be able to do, and that's going to be win a big game like this. So I'm going with the Rams to win and to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we think back to the last matchup between these teams because the Rams and the Seahawks split their season series. They each won on their own home fields. But Seattle, it took a lot for them to win on their home field as they pulled out a 38-37 win in overtime on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. And Matthew Stafford, as you were mentioning, Kaz, he proved in Chicago, a place that he used to play once a year, that he's no stranger to the cold weather, as you had mentioned. And now he's going to be playing in the cold weather again. May not be as cold as Chicago was, but nevertheless, Seattle can turn a dime real quick, and it can get really cold up there very fast. And you look back on that most recent game, which was from about a month ago or so, Matthew Stafford, he absolutely lit it up. He completed 29 of 49 passes for 457 yards and 3 touchdowns. And as you had mentioned regarding Puka Nacua, in that game, 12 receptions for 225 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. If the Rams cannot, or excuse me, if the Seahawks cannot stop that connection, then they are simply going to lose this game. And that's why you highlighted that connection as the reason why the Rams will win this game. And you even look back on that game in Seattle, and Kenneth Walker, he had 11 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown. He's going to be relied upon much more in this game with Zach Charbonnet out with a torn ACL. Zach Charbonnet, you look at his contributions in that game, 9 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. So now all that production is going to have to come from Kenneth Walker. But my guy Jackson Smith and Jigba from the Ohio State University, I'm going to turn around the hat just for the sake of argument. I have hated seeing JSN on the Seattle Seahawks as a 49ers fan, but he has emerged this season as arguably a top 5, if not top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. The only other guy who could really make an argument, at least from this season, is Puka Nacua, as you were alluding to. And I don't feel this way just because the 49ers just got absolutely worked by the Seahawks. But I genuinely believe on the back of their defense, the Seahawks will get back to the Super Bowl. And I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this game. It's not going to be a 38-37 shootout. If anything, it's going to be 24-23. That's probably the most points that I think will be scored in this game because we saw the Rams were in a dogfight in Chicago, and it was pretty low scoring for most of the game. The weather factored into that, but I think that Seattle's defense is just humming. The thing that Kyle, who's in our Stats Over Politics group chat, he's a Seahawks fan. He's taken $40 from me over the last 3 weeks. And the thing that he kept saying going into that Week 18 game, but then also afterwards, is that this Seahawks team is not the same as they were earlier in the season. They're not even the same team as they were a month ago. And so I'm going with Seattle to continue rolling. And I talked about during my rant about the 49ers that this is the team that I hate the most in all of sports. But I always try to be a realist. I always try to be objective on this podcast. And to me, the Seahawks are rolling. The Rams escaped the Bears. And so I'm picking Seattle to win this matchup on the strength of their defense. Sam Darnold will have to play mistake-free football, I believe, as you mentioned. And if he can do that, then Seattle will win this game because of their defense. And I got the Seahawks going back to the Super Bowl. And if my predictions are correct, then we'll end up seeing a Super Bowl rematch, I believe, of what was Super Bowl 49 between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. If that's the case, I'm rooting for the Patriots to beat the Seahawks again in the Super Bowl because we know how I am when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks. Any closing thoughts, Kaz, before we get up out of here? I appreciate you being here with me.
No, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. This is the point in time where even if the Eagles are still in the playoffs, I'm getting tired of football season. I'm ready for it to be over so I can just kind of like stop stressing about things that are pointless and just stop fucking betting because Jesus Christ, I need a break. Okay, got football season, and we got March Madness, and then I can just disappear for like about 4 more months and then do it all over again next year. So just There's not, I like the thing I like about football is, when you wake up, you watch a bunch of games. Playoffs, you don't see a bunch of games. You see one game for 1 hour, and then one the next hour, and then it's done. And then at the end of it all, you just see one game. So, yeah, I'm just ready for this season to be over, man. Let's just hope that it's the last 3 games are just good games, So, yeah, I'm just ready to see who's going to come out victorious, who's going to be the new Super Bowl champions. And I gotta take down my Eagles stuff. Gotta take it down. Can't be a Cowboys. I don't want to be a Cowboys fan. Once I celebrate for about a year or two, and I'll put it behind me. That's about it.
That's fair, and I respect that. That's the one positive of the 49ers losing on Saturday is now I can just watch these games and just enjoy them for what they are and no longer have to stress. I really enjoyed watching that college football national championship just because it was some good football and I had no ties to it at all. And so I just was able to enjoy it as a fan of the sport. And that's the best part about your team being eliminated. Obviously, we want our teams to go on and win it all every single season, but that just isn't realistic, even for Kansas City Chiefs fans. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how these final 3 games play out. And that's going to do it for episode number 176 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned in to episode number 176 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Kaz Johnson, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Alex Dent, and Gary Singh, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics.